Hello, everyone. We are here live. My name is April Tribe Juke, and I am broadcasting tonight from Kyle, Texas. And I have a wonderful guest here tonight. Her name is Janet M. Huxley, and I want to ask her, where are you broadcasting from tonight?
The Kansas City area. It's great to be with you.
It's good to be with you, and I'm so happy that you are here tonight. While we're waiting for people to kind of pop up, we have some great things. We'll be giving away a free book tonight to those that are communicating and popping up here and sharing their stories and information. So the more you join and participate, the more we can go in depth from everything that Janet is going to present. So this is really exciting. And I see a few people here. Thank you, Stephanie. You're popping up here. This is awesome. And looks like Mitzi, she's here too. So this is a great, great start. Well, Janet, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am first and foremost a mom, and I am a grandma. We have 8 children, my husband and we have 5 grandchildren so far. Only our oldest 2 are married, so we assume safely we will have plenty more. I have not yet been an empty nester. My oldest son is 1, my youngest daughter is 16, and so I'm literally in my 4th decade of parenting. And let's live on a farm. I am an author. I teach high school classes to a private academy in Kansas City, private Christian academy. Teach American Lit, Brit Lit, and Worldviews classes.
Wow, that is incredible. How do you enjoy the teaching?
So I love the teaching. I homeschooled 5 of our 8 kids, and so it was a natural transition for me. I have a degree in journalism as well as in communication, and when I was asked to teach, actually I first said no, and then a daughter approached me and said, "Mom, you teach Shakespeare. Are you kidding me? Get in there, do it." So I did it. I guess I've been doing it about 5 years now, and I absolutely love it. I have a passion for young people and a passion for empowering through teaching.
Awesome. Teaching is really a place where you can influence and impact so many lives with such positive outcomes. And with a topic like English and writing, man, the door opens right up to this creative activity that joins us for life, as well as creates worlds upon end, right? We know art, dance, and music can do something similar, but there's something with the word. And we all know that with the Word of God, there is a lot of impact in that as well. So all words, especially in the written language, has incredible impact for all of us. Now, you have written a new book. It's called Rainbow Land. Do you want to show us your book?
Sure, I absolutely will. This is the paperback version. It is now available in hardcover, which I'm very excited about. So that's only been recently. With COVID, there have been a lot of setbacks. We had to wait very patiently for this, my illustrator and I, but it is finally available.
Excellent. So tonight we're going to punch right into what creates a rainbow land. How did you come up with this idea?
Okay, so it's largely based upon what I found was my first rainbow. It's my rainbow story. Years ago, let me see, to keep this as short as possible, there were a series of plane crashes in my life. There was a series of plane crashes in my life. And the first was PSA Flight 182, which took a nosedive in the center of my hometown, San Diego, in 1978, killing 144 people. There were people on board, a couple in a Cessna that they had collided with, as well as 7 people on the ground, 22 homes destroyed. It was quite the event. Here I am in 7th grade, and I am overwhelmed at this point by this crash, and I really just felt it was a harbinger of things to come. I really did. I was a kid. About a decade later, my father also died in a commercial plane crash. What I didn't mention was we had people on the ground and on the plane, on the PSA flight 182 that we knew. So that seemed, gosh, like weird confirmation, although I was trying not to think too much about it. And then about, oh gosh, maybe 2 years later, I took a job flying as an airborne traffic reporter in San Diego, which you would think would be the last thing that I would do would be to report from the skies, but that's exactly what I did. I had my own emergency landing. We ended up getting clearance at Miramar Naval Air Station, and it was really quite a to-do. And after we landed safely and the black smoke was gone, I turned and I looked to my pilot and I said, "You were very calm. I really appreciate that." And he said, "I really wasn't, because nothing is worth losing my life over." And it sort of just made such an impact, that statement, particularly when 2 weeks later I took the morning off to be at home with my young son, who was then 2, and that plane with the pilot and a very good friend of mine went down just off 5 in Solana Beach, and they were lost as well. So at that point I said, okay, I'm done flying. I'm not doing that anymore. I'll keep my feet on the ground. Thank you very much. So fast forward 14 years, I've been relocated to the Kansas City area. My daughter Kelsey is 14 at the time. She's getting ready to get on a flight to head home by herself, and she's very upset. And I told her, listen, statistically speaking, we are not going to know anyone else that dies in a plane crash. I mean, it's not even possible. She had written a note and I was reading it. She took her seat. She continued to text me and then phone me. And at that moment, I just started praying, and I prayed to God. I said, please just keep my daughter safe. And at that very moment that I began to pray, a full rainbow appeared over her plane. Now listen, April, that rainbow was complete. It was over her plane only. There were no clouds in the sky. There wasn't even any rain. It was totally supernatural. And in fact, the flight attendant who was standing next to me at the window was rubbing her arms up and down and saying, oh my goodness, I have goosebumps. And I'm saying, I think I could be so bold as to say that rainbow is for me. My dad died in a commercial plane crash, and my daughter is on that flight. And she was overwhelmed. It really was the first time, to be honest, that God really reached out and touched me with his communication. And I really feel like when we choose to see, we will see more. More is unveiled. So ever since that time, that was sort of the catalyst. I have seen so many supernatural signs from our God, our Creator. And so they've been so comforting. And those rainbows, I call it the rainbow cushion. It's happened to me so many times at precisely the right moment. So they really are more than coincidence. So when it came to writing a children's book, I left all of the plane crash stuff out of it. But I just really wanted to impress upon kids the understanding that rainbows are still promises, and color is from God. You see, we need light for color, right? So truth gives us light. Light gives us color. Color is a gift from God. I really think it speaks of his majesty and his love for us. And his rainbows are significant. I feel like we have a rain dilemma. I think I wrote this largely as an obedient response to my God. And I am the first one to buy backpacks with rainbows on them, or shoes, or dresses, or hair barrettes, or whatever it is for my grandkids. But I also recognize the need to convey a bigger story behind the narrative that's out there. And I just felt it on my heart that I needed to do this. And as part of this Rainbow Land book, it's just really an encouragement to kids to see the grand master painter that's at work, and always so devoted to us and constantly trying to provide us those messages of hope.
Wow, very impactful, especially for a child who is just learning. Some might not have the opportunity to understand who God is, and a book like this can come into their lives and give them some type of thought of, I wondered what was more. I wondered who created that. I wonder, because there is beauty all around in so many ways. And it can also emphasize for maybe families that are teaching about God, here is possibly another perspective on it, something to keep encouraging and grow that testimony even more. So I'm really happy that you followed through on that prompting of your heart to share such a beautiful story. Now, I wanted to ask you one question, and it might be kind of a challenge, but um, I know you have shared the story with many of us, and I wanted you to share the story with our viewers tonight about your illustrator and how all of that miracle has come about, and what the continued prayers for her, what's happening in her life, that hopefully a rainbow could possibly be blessing for her.
Yeah, I'm just, you're asking that and I'm thinking, oh, can I do this without tearing up? Um, I have not met Kate, but I love my illustrator. The way that I met her was I knew the concept that I wanted for this book, and I put a job description out on several platforms, and I had over 100 responses. And yet I knew from the moment I saw her work that she was the one I wanted to use. And I actually narrowed it down to 2 illustrators, and the other illustrator encouraged me to hold a contest. So I did. And on our publisher site, I held this contest. I gave 2 examples, and I think I had, oh goodness, I had hundreds of votes that came in, and 100% of them were for Kate, which just really confirmed that I knew that she was the one. And the interesting thing is I woke up one morning and I really just, before I get out of bed in the morning, I just think about God. I am so blessed, and I just feel like before my feet can even hit the carpet, most days, I mean, some days I'm crazy and I'm not remembering, but I'm always trying to be thankful. And on this particular morning, I woke up and I was thinking about Kate, and I said to the Lord, I said, Lord, please, I want Kate to be my illustrator. I really, really want her to want to do this book, and I want to choose her. And so I got up and I checked my messages on my phone. Well, she's halfway around the world. She is from the Ukraine. She lives in Kiev. And I received a message from her nearly simultaneously. And she said, I have just been thinking a lot about your book, and I really, really want to be the one to do it. And then we talked about faith. And so I knew we were on the same page. And I thought the Lord has just really, he just brought this young woman into my life, and I'm so happy. And we've had some challenges. So the COVID thing hit. She and her husband and young daughter had all taken a trip to Thailand, and she was doing some work there. And then the COVID thing hit, and she was restricted from going home. So I didn't even think the book was going to happen. But God was so good to us. She was able to work through that time and get it done, and then was able to take a flight home just, maybe a month ago, maybe a little more than that. And so she arrived home. So during this time, she was pregnant. And we talked a little bit about that. We really got to know each other through, I mean, for those of you who haven't done a children's book, what you'll do is you will provide your illustrator an idea of what you're looking for and describe at length the illustrations that you've envisioned. And you'll also provide the text so that he or she is able to adequately respond to those directions. And so during that time, as we are working together daily, we're also talking, and we become friends on social media and send each other pictures of our homes. And one of the things I thought, by the way, that was just so great is I never sent her a picture of my home, and yet it ended up in the book, because there were some areas where I just told her, you have creative license to do whatever you want here. And she brought in things that were just amazing. Anyway, enough of that. But she got home and ended up prematurely delivering her baby at 27 weeks, a girl, and they call her Aurora. And so we've been praying. I asked her permission to start a prayer chain. I really feel like, for those of you who have experienced this, there is nothing like prayer, and it's the greatest gift we can give one another. So I started the prayer chain both on our publisher site and on my own social media, and people around the world began praying for little Aurora It was difficult in the beginning for Kate too, because it was infection that caused her to prematurely deliver. It wasn't that she even delivered. They had to take the baby by C-section to try and save Kate's life. And they've been trying to save the baby's life ever since. So she's been affectionately called the rainbow baby. And I know rainbow babies often, that's a term that is used anytime a couple has had trouble conceiving and has miscarried, and then the baby that comes next that is born is called the rainbow baby. But in this case, I really feel like little Aurora is the quintessential rainbow baby, because everyone's praying for her, and day by day we get the reports that she's still hanging in there, she's still fighting. There have been all sorts of concerns. I know there's been talk about brain surgery. We've been praying against that, and so far that hasn't been necessary. But the other day, Kate sent me a picture, and she said it was in her hometown in Kiev, and it was a rainbow, she said, like they had never seen before, and everyone was talking about it. It was a full circle rainbow. It was double, and it could be seen across the city of 3.5 million. Her grandmother was seeing it on one end of the city at the same time she was seeing it. And it was a pink background. It was so unusual, and it looked almost exactly like this one from our book. And I just feel that I have to believe that God's messages are that our rainbow baby is going to be okay. And so one day I was praying a rainbow over Aurora, like I have for my own kids. I tend to do that. And it would take all night for me to talk about that. I do mention that in my book, my first book, Milk and Honeyland. But I get rainbows a lot when I pray. I try not to ask for them too much, but I do. And so anyway, one day I was praying, and I was out in my garden praying for Aurora, and I said, Lord, please just give me a rainbow for her today. And I could almost hear him laughing, and he goes, I already have. It's the book. And so I'm glad that you asked, April, because we'd really love to have those prayers continue. I just sense that she's a very special baby, and my heart goes out to all of them. And I know that Kate, for example, I think her husband hasn't been able to, because of COVID, except maybe meet her once. But I do believe Kate's at the hospital pretty regularly, and I think it's been about 5 weeks now since she was born.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing such an amazing story. I agree with what Linda says. This is a powerful message. And I think the message about miracles, about the rainbows, about what God can do and how he protects life, especially children, is so important. I mean, today's awareness is something really struggling with how many children are abused or trafficked or anything that is just awful. Today is actually that recognition day to make everybody aware, to do those prayers, to do whatever we can to keep the children safe. So a story of hope, a story that brings in something where, as other children are aware that there are terrible things happening, we as adults, we kind of tend to have the big conversations, right? The hard, tough conversations, the things so that we can be the protectors, as we should. And in those protective moments, we still have to turn and look at our children and still provide them with hope. They can't be burdened with these things. They need to feel light. They need to feel hope. They need to feel color, right? And so your beautiful book, as I've been reading it to my deaf daughters, my one daughter loves anything to do with a rainbow. In fact, you've really inspired her. We have rainbows everywhere that aren't even on paper anymore. A few on the walls, but that's okay. That's okay. She's been inspired. So we will just take a picture, clean that off. Right. So the point is that in this hope, we have to share it out. It's a powerful story about baby Aurora. It's a powerful story now that can be shared with so many wonderful people. And I know in reading it to my own kids, there's a sense of quiet that comes, a lot of thinking that happens. And I think it is because of how the pictures are laid out. Of course, my children are very visual. And obviously with them being deaf, the visual piece there, I can see my 10-year-old, she is studying different aspects of how it actually looks and how it makes her feel. So there was a few copies that were happening in some paperwork, and just those things are really inspiring. And I wanted to share that with you because when you get inspired to write and then you see the impact immediately, what is happening, to the children that are listening to the story, there is something so much bigger. I think it's really important to think about how he is letting us know. Thank you, Kathy. These coincidences, God letting us know that he is here, that there is just so much more to offer. Erica says, you have such a heart for others, and I agree in so many of the stories we've heard tonight. So, what we want to share is show that wonderful book again. She has an opportunity for an author Academy Award and to cast our votes. Now, tomorrow is the last day. I know all month of July we've been collecting votes for many different authors. You are the 18th author tonight. So it's been really exciting to see and to feel of how many people have been voting and casting that out. It's not just for an award to show for yourself. It's to show that other people, wow, this must be an important book. This message must be something that I want to share and have the message float out even more. And so things and awards like this are really, that's the importance of it, so that more people can feel touched by it. So Janet, tell us about one of the stories in the book that was something really fun and enjoyable to write about.
Okay, so I think the most poignant for me is something that nobody probably will even be aware of, and that is, we talk about coincidences, and where God is concerned, where the Holy Spirit is concerned, there's few of those. And I had been to a church group one night, and I had given my testimony about the rainbow, and much as I had with you earlier about the plane crashes and my daughter being on board that plane and the full rainbow appearing over it. And a woman came up to me afterward and said, during the summer, every time I think of God, I see a dragonfly. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I guess during the summer would be the time to see those. I guess I just don't really see a lot of those, right? Or at least I hadn't paid attention. Would you believe 5 minutes later, I walk out to the parking lot to get into my car, and there is a dragonfly on my window shield right in front. And I thought, oh, goodness, it's those kinds of things, that he's subtle, but he's not so subtle. He's always trying to get our attention. So here I mentioned that Kate had done an illustration for me of my farm, which I did not ask her to do. She got online and she found a picture of my farm. But what she also included was a dragonfly right up here at the top. And I just was astounded. I thought, wait a minute, I'm going the wrong way. I was absolutely astounded. Another little thing, a touch of God speaking to Kate. He's just extraordinary. One of the stories in the book is there's a father and a daughter standing here, and there are birds overhead. That actually is a true story. When I was a little girl, I thought a lot about God. I just did. I was consumed with him pretty much. And one day I was looking up at the sky and I was just thinking of God. Whenever I would think of God, I would see a bird, which was often. I lived in Southern California. There were a lot of seagulls. And I remember asking my father, hey, Dad, do you think God's in the birds? And he said, he's very pragmatic. He said, no, I don't. I don't think he's in the birds. I think he's in heaven. So that's why I addressed that here. I had a terrific relationship with my dad, but I have to disagree with him. I believe that God is in everything that he created, and he uses so much of his creation to communicate with us, his prized creation, his sons and daughters. All that we see around us is a demonstration of his love for us, all of the good. I'm not sure if I'm the one who is still live or if April's the one. I have terrible internet here, terrible, terrible internet coverage. So I'm not sure if I'm on anymore. But if I
You're
am,
back.
there's April.
You're
Maybe
back.
she's coming back
Keep
around.
going. Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure. I thought, okay, this is me. I know it's me. I have the worst internet. I live in the country. um, so yeah, so the what I was saying was just knowing that that God is in everything and all of his creation. And so, that's one of the three reasons I wrote this book. I mean, I think I've shared with you, April, as a homeschool mom, I was so often, I mean, 99.9% of the time, I was so disappointed when I would go to the library and the kids would pick up books and they wanted to check out, and I would thumb through them thinking, okay, I found myself constantly going to the back page to find out what the end story was. Where was the story of redemption, right? I mean, I feel like, what was the point? Now I understand there are books to entertain and to light and all of that, but there are so many that don't offer a story of redemption and don't offer hope. So that was a huge part of it, cementing early truth concepts in a child's world. The other thing that I was really focused on was the wording. I'm a big proponent of using vocabulary that's above a child's level when it's coupled with captivating illustrations, so that the captivating illustrations carry the story along, but new words are learned in the process. And that, in my opinion, instills a greater love of the written word and the beauty and understanding of the beauty that we create with it. God spoke the world into existence. When we speak, we have an opportunity to create such beauty. And so I was really keen on coming up with words that would maybe be pushing the envelope for this age group, which I wrote for, which primarily is between ages 3 and 8 and upward of 9. Middle grade. But I did that intentionally. I share another story in the beginning of the book, in that my dad was once on a flight back home. He had been hearing this amazing conversation between a child and an adult during the course of the flight. When the flight landed, he got up to retrieve his baggage, brought it down, and was astounded to see that the child behind him was much, much younger than he anticipated. And so I always sort of used that example in my own home when I communicated with my kids. I felt like, of course I had that sweet little dumbing down mama sing-songy talk that I use with my kids often, but more often I spoke to them in a way that I expected that they would learn and begin to appreciate vocabulary. So that was the second reason. And obviously another reason would be just that I really felt the message of the rainbow was, obviously very, very important in our world. There's a lot of rainbows out there. I don't want us to lose sight of the reason for the rainbow.
I think that's really, really wonderful to bring that color, to bring that light, and to remember what it is. It offers an opportunity to see what other people think about it and what the Word of God says. And you can then make good decisions. You can feel it through. And the whole point is that there is beauty everywhere. You can love everywhere. There is hope in so many things. And so, thank you so much for that message. And sorry for the little blip. It was on my end. My internet
Oh
decided to
gosh.
slip out. But trusty phone with a hotspot, we got it back. We got it back.
Well, you know
So,
what? You say that, I almost hot spotted at the same time too. I thought, oh, that's me. I'm in a hot spot. Wait a minute. No, it looks like I'm still okay.
you're there. You stayed the whole time. So, way to carry the show. Way to go.
Yay.
Kathy says, "Well done, both beautiful ladies. You are so sweet. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you." So, everyone, tonight, get those votes in for Rainbow Land. Say your prayers for baby Aurora, and see and pray and hope. If you don't know there's a God, see what rainbow He might cast in front of you. I call those tender mercies, because only He knows what's in your heart. And when they can be cast, they are another gentle support that someone else is listening. Thank you so much, Janet. And we hope everyone has a lovely evening. Go out and vote. I'll put all the links in here when we finish from the broadcast tonight, and we'll share whatever information Janet gives me, I'll put there. And we will announce the winner tonight of the copy of Out of Darkness. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Bye.
Thank you for having me, April. Awesome.
You're welcome.
Take care.